Hey everyone, and welcome back to Joy at Work. It's great to be with you all again in this online form. The German Bundesliga is back on, and I had the opportunity of watching some games over the weekend. I got to tell everyone, it's pretty surreal watching people play in empty stadiums. Folks sitting beside, well, not sitting beside each other, but sitting 6 feet away from each other wearing masks. This is very unique time in the world's history, and we're all going through something that it's been 100 years or so since any of society has gone through something like this at this scale. So I guess enjoy the ride the best you can. These are tough times, but we'll get through it together. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you got thoughts, feedback, suggestions. I'd love to hear from you all. And on that note, I got a lot of positive feedback from my last video log, which talked about the dark sides of working from home. I actually had people even call me up and suggest to me that, hey, maybe I'm dealing with stress because of the things I've noticed I'm doing. Everything's got its pros and cons, and it's important for us to think about how any given thing can go wrong. That's kind of this proactive mindset. Just don't go into it without thinking about it and putting precautions or safeguards that can help you navigate your way through it. So, this work from home scenarios kind of our new normal, and to kind of get through it in one piece, we're going to have to be very intentional about it. Self-care matters a lot right now. It's always mattered, it's always been important, but paying attention to your health is extremely important at this time, right? I like the way it's said that health is not the absence of disease. It's emotional wellness, spiritual wellness, social wellness, physical wellness. So, and other forms of wellness. So you just need to make sure you're kind of going through all those areas in your life and saying, what am I doing to take care of myself in this dimension? So today I want to think about or share some thoughts on work from home and some of the assumptions we're probably making about how things look going forward. I was talking with somebody earlier in this week about, one of the things I think we've taken for granted as we've made this transition, if you will, is the social capital that we've built up over the years working together in person, right? There's a phenomenon called propinquity that talks about how people, because they're physically in physical proximity, become close to each other. Now, there's some who've said that you don't need that physical proximity to become close. You can have a psychological proximity. So I don't have to live in the same city with you, but if we're in the same mind and spirit, we can become close. And I'm not suggest that that's true, but in my experience, where how we get to psychological closeness is because we had physical closeness at some point. That's just what I've observed. So we've been able to build and develop social capital, which is high levels of trust, confidence, willing to go the extra mile for other people. And a lot of that was developed in scenarios where we were actually physically together, right? You could walk into somebody's office or to their desk or have lunch or breakfast or whatever the case might be with them. And that was a way we developed social capital, trust, confidence, all these things that make us work well together, right? When we think about joy at work, who we work with is a important aspect of that, and we develop that, we build that, we grow that by being in the presence of those people for a while. Now we're not. Now we're in this online world where that physical connection is no longer there, and I think that it's easy to take that for granted right now. If you're working well on your team and things are going fine, you might just be saying, well, it's easy peasy. It didn't take much. We've transitioned to this new setting, this new situation. But don't forget the foundation that was laid that made it possible for you to actually get there. That foundation's important. And if we don't pay attention to that foundation, it probably will erode eventually. And so we need to be extremely intentional right now, especially in this scenario where we're not coming physically close to each other, to find other things that keep us close. So you have to find this for yourself, for your context, for your teams. What works, what makes sense. Again, folks have chosen things like virtual lunches or calls and things like that. But there's so many things that we might even take for granted right now. You know, the sidebar that you used to have at work to talk about the game or something you saw on TV or the news, that might not be happening right now. You might just be jumping right into work because, who has a time for small talk? I think it's very important, even at this time, that we think about all those things that we used to do when we were physically uh, together, how we bring some of those things back even at this time, right? There are many companies that have worked in this way for a long time and maybe have a different foundation that they've developed. But for many companies that are working in this new norm, our foundation is different. And so you either got to think about how you kind of continue to strengthen that foundation or really do something radical with it at some point. And maybe that's where we're eventually going to get to over time, but definitely here over the next couple of months as we figure out what's going to happen with the vaccine and people don't have their post-vaccine plans, because I truly believe that we're living in the pre-vaccine world and there's going to be then we're going to have this situation where we get the vaccine and then there's going to be post. And I think each of those situations will have to treat them differently. But in this pre-vaccine world, let's make sure that we continue to think about how we continue to develop and grow and build social capital. Don't take it for granted. Just don't assume that because it's there, it will always be there. It requires work, it requires effort, it requires time. So thanks for joining me this week again. Feel free to subscribe, put your thoughts in the comments, and I look forward to talking to you all. Bye.